All right, thank you. Welcome back. Let's now look at separation of power. So, giving you a mind map of it, we said that separation of powers was the brainchild of Baron de Montesquieu. He proposed powers of government to be kept separate under the executive, judiciary, and the legislature. He basically said that separation of powers was the only way to keep in checks and balances. All right, separation of powers works different in the UK to what it is now today. So in the UK, basically, when Parliament passes a law, that law is good as gold. Nobody can say anything. No courts can review it. No one can complain about it. No one can change it. All right, that's the fact as it is. All right, in Papua New Guinea, it's different. Our judiciary is given exhaustive powers to review any legislation passed by Parliament. So when you know it, because of the fact that any law that's passed by Parliament can definitely be reviewed by the judiciary. So for instance, there's a lot of laws that the Parliament has declared and Supreme Court has declared unconstitutional. For instance, before there was a law called the Intertribal Fighting Act. So that law states that when in a tribal fight, what will happen is that you are not. So the basic presumption of innocence is that you are innocent until proven guilty. So when they passed that law in the 1990s, they said no, you are guilty, and you'll be charged, and then you can go to the court and prove your innocence. So Parliament passed that type of law, but when the Supreme Court reviewed the law, it says that no, that is wrong. That is not how democracy works. Democracy, under Section 37 of the Constitution of PNG, it says that you have the protection of the law. That means that you are innocent until proven guilty. So this law is rearranging it, it's changing it around, making it back to front. It's saying that you are guilty, but you have to go to the courts and prove your innocence. So the Supreme Court said that this is unconstitutional. It goes against, or it breaches Section 37 of the Constitution, and that law has been declared unconstitutional. Also, you see the government action from the Manus asylum seekers. The government went ahead and sort of made some administrative decisions and passed some laws on allowing the Manus Island detention center to be built, and sent all the refugees that were caught in the process of going to Australia and to be processed offshore from Australia, which is in Manus. It was challenged in the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that it is unconstitutional. So that is what we mean by, in the UK, they can pass any laws that want, the court can have the power to review it, but in PNG, if you pass a law by Parliament, basically that law can be reviewed by the courts, or the Supreme Court. All right. Also in PNG, we know that the members of the executive, the Prime Minister and the ministers, they are also members of the legislature. The same members sit in the legislature, they sit in the executive as well. So in the separation of powers, the executive is accountable to the legislature. The Prime Minister Marape and his NEC, they are accountable to Parliament. They report to Parliament. All right, so basically we covered it already. We said that Section 9 of the PNG Constitution talks about the separation of powers. You would see that under Section 99, the executive arm of the government is made up of the head of state, the Prime Minister, and the NEC. And the main task is to formulate policy, execute laws, and also control the raising of government revenue and government expenditure. That is the sole function of the executive. The executive arm of government is the head of state, the Prime Minister, and the National Security Council. The main task is to formulate policy, execute laws, and control the raising of government revenue and government expenditure. For instance, the Marape government, one of the major policies was Connect PNG program. So you be a judge of the effectiveness and the reasoning behind the policy in light of very recent damning allegations against the validity of the Connect PNG program. But it is a government program, and because of their task to formulate policy and execute laws, they can basically issue those type of policies. All right. The judiciary is made up of courts, judges, and lawyers. The main tasks basically outlined there. The main tasks, according to Professor Kwa, is to keep the peace. They decide controversies, deciding who, in a case, they decide who's right and who's wrong, who the law protects and who the law is against. They also decide in judicial lawmaking. So when the court is interpreting a case, it's making law as we go. So that decision is binding on all courts. The Supreme Court has the power to make a decision. The decision will bind the national court and the district court, and every court has to be in uniform or respect and apply the Supreme Court decisions. All right, the judiciary is responsible to review of constitutional laws. That's where you file a Supreme Court reference, basically inviting or asking the court to review laws passed by Parliament. The courts are there to enforce your rights and freedoms. Also, they're there to enforce or review administrative decisions. So, for instance, if a head of department or if the minister has personal grudges against the head of a department, let's say the Department of Finance, and basically says that, okay, I'm going to terminate the head of the Secretary for Finance, basically the Secretary of Finance can go to court and says that there is no law that I've breached, I've been unlawfully terminated. Can you review the decision of the minister, and can you appoint me, reinstate me back to the position? That's basically the powers of the judiciary. All right, the legislature, basically, Section 100 of the Constitution provides that the legislative power of the people is in the national parliament. When the CPC, the Constitutional Planning Committee, as I talked about, they went about in doing their research, they clearly stated that in the kind of democracy we envisage for Papua New Guinea, the national legislature must have a central role. Parliament must have a central role. They believe that while legislature must be given every opportunity to provide strong relationship with reshaping a new nation, it is important that the legislature does not become autocratic, so that the legislature becomes a mere rubber stamp. That means that the most important thing for them was that the parliament take a central role in a democracy, and the executive do not use parliament as a rubber stamp, but is accountable to the parliament. Why they are saying this? It's becoming true now. When you have huge coalitions in the government, when you have huge people, members of parliament supporting one party, they just come and they come and pass any bill they want. So for instance, now people are, all the industry players are making a lot of noise and issuing press statements against the national government's gold bullion policy. In essence, what they're trying to say is that this bullion policy, basically, it's a policy where the executive is trying to bulldoze through parliament, and the executive is not respecting parliament's sort of role in terms of holding the executive to account. All right, the most fundamental role of the legislature is to represent the people who've given the members of parliament their mandate. So basically, when you vote in members of parliament, it's for them to represent us. They must participate in the debates, they must sort of criticize the laws, they must ensure that they pass laws that will reflect the aspirations of the people, and they will make life easy for the people. If a member of parliament is sleeping in parliament, is abusing your mandate, please change him in the next elections, because he's not representing the interest of parliament. In the Supreme Court case that I've sort of quoted there, one of our late Chief Justice Kapi, emphasized every member of parliament represents the interest of the common people, including the unemployed people living in the squatter settlements in Port Moresby, to the ordinary subsistence farmer living in a remote village in the outback. The parliament is there to serve the interest of the people. All right. Okay, in your next class, we'll cover the hierarchy of laws. So I will tell you what type of the laws that exist in PNG. Thank you.